Hello, empaths, healers, artists, intuitives, modern mystics. This is your podcast, Empath Entertainment. I'm your host, Rachel. Today we're going to be talking about when performing arts become overindulgent into therapeutic, personal therapy. You know, this is part of my past. You know, art itself can be very therapeutic. Giving pain and emotions expression is therapy for us. But I have along the way definitely have received some strange looks from voice teachers or acting teachers where I was really getting into it and, you know, healing myself through the expression and the art form. And it just wasn't appropriate. It wasn't the right emotional pitch. It wasn't in character. And it took me a long time to understand the discipline it took to really, to make it a performance as opposed to a healing session for myself. Really overindulgent with emotion. And I really thought that is what made me an actor or a performer. I really valued that. I really valued people who could emote on cue, and I would cry just because I could. No, it didn't matter if it was, you know, appropriate for the scene or the line or whatever. So my message here is that taught me that art can be therapeutic. And that's the beautiful thing. There can be a catharsis. But when you have the catharsis, often as the character, or during the song or performance, what can often happen is the audience doesn't feel comfortable doing it themselves, right? They miss out on having their catharsis. It can sometimes be more powerful to, you know, see someone that that's disciplined on the screen or stage, and which allows you to have the cathartic experience. And that requires discipline as an artist. But what that did teach me is it's possible to use art for healing, for personal catharsis, for, you know, sort of extracting these stored emotions, and also for amplifying our intention. When you're working with someone who's lovingly witnessing the process, it's even more potent, which is why it's probably kind of tempting to do so in front of an audience. It empowers it, but that's not what the audience is there to see, right? And, you know, looking back at some of the looks I got from voice teachers and acting teachers, where I really went overboard, it was not appropriate. You can imagine. But I learned along the way, well, you know, you got to be a little more disciplined than that. You don't just go up there and cry and, you know, that's your scene, you know, that's a wrap. So, and same with singing, right? Anything like that. Really finding those moments and, you know, and finding, and building to it. But when using art, you know, I also found that when I was working with teachers, I worked with a voice teacher for a time. I've had many voice teachers, but one in particular I worked with in New York City. And we were working on a song called Make It To Me by Sam Smith. And she would have me, in one particular lesson, she had me meditate on my intention with the song. What's the intention of the song? It wasn't even my personal intention that I was crafting. It was really, what's the voice of the person who's singing the song saying? And if you don't know the song, it's this beautiful, it's written like a prayer. It's beautiful. It's calling out to, you know, your person, right? The one that's meant for you, someone you haven't met yet. And you have to listen to it. It's so beautiful. I actually have a recording of me singing with that voice teacher, that particular song on my SoundCloud page. But it can be used for intention setting. What ended up happening was I meditated on the intention, sang through the song a few times, and then hours later received a message from someone I had dated like 4 years previously, who I really cared about, but sort of just lost touch with. He reached out to me, and it was really a very loving, caring message. And while he wasn't my one, he wasn't the person, it was really like clearing out some maybe unfinished business with somebody, right, that I had cared about. And it gave me some relief and release as there was some resolution in that situation. And whatever I was telling myself about what I deserved or didn't deserve in relationship, it started to heal. And all of that was because I set an intention before I started singing. And I had someone there witnessing me. And, that is one place where art and spirituality and healing intersect, right? The creative arts are so therapeutic. You're calling on parts of yourself that you're not even consciously aware of, right, as you're creating. And you're creating it in a way that other people can interpret for their own use and healing as well. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. So I was also inspired today because I was listening to an embodiment coach. I was attending an embodiment conference online, and I was listening to one of the speakers named Mark Walsh talk about, really updating our definition of self-care. And one of the things he was talking about was how, sitting for long periods of time is really hard on the body. It's not really good for us. So can we update our self-care by seeing even getting up to use the restroom as something good for our body, right? Noticing when we're thirsty, taking a drink, and mindfully feeling it going down. It has this disappearing effect. It was really a beautiful experience to have him guiding us through that and bringing my attention to that, about these different sensations that we can have, and mindfully tuning into the body. And what that did for me was I started really caring about my body. It's easy for me to be hard on my body. I think a lot of us experience that. It's easier for me to really feel like, let me push it to the limit, right? That comes more naturally to me. Let me keep going. Even in exercise, I'm going to keep pushing it. And it doesn't come naturally to be really gentle and nurturing. I have to really mindfully do that. And so what I noticed after doing some of this mindfulness, caring for myself and tuning in, I noticed that if I had been sitting in a position too long and it sort of hurt my leg, I would give it some love and gentle touch and say, I'm sorry, did I hurt you? And, give it some nurturing like I might for somebody else who was hurting. And I found that to be such a shift and a beautiful transformation about how I saw self-care. And it just started with me noticing the water going down, my digestive tract, and me losing this sensation, right? This disappearing sensation, as I gave it my attention, noticing how it became less and less, it disappeared. And how I could see that as self-care, being aware of my body. I started noticing my sit bones, right? And how they were supporting me sitting perfectly, giving what I was sitting in more of my weight. And how that opened up my it opened up my chest where I was holding tension. It allowed me to take deeper breaths, right? It had this domino effect of release and relaxation and body awareness. And that's the beginning of any healing process is that awareness, that initiation through awareness, that illumination with our attention. And I was really inspired by that. And I thought maybe someone out there could hear that and feel called to try it out themselves, noticing how supported you are, right? Even if by the chair you're sitting in, right? Or the sofa or bed you're laying in, noticing those moments of support and noticing those opportunities to give yourself more care. I think that's such a beautiful thing. And it's a practice, right? These little moments, we see the opportunities open up for us to give ourselves stellar care. And then we can, then we are filled up and we're able to offer gentleness, compassion, and love to the world. And it starts with how we care for ourselves. So I hope that was inspiring to you. I wanted to share that little message as well. And I think, artists really need that, right? So that, we can carry the stories and messages of the time, and share messages of love and peace and healing, along with all the other emotions that are important to release and express. But maybe more peace and love will seep into our art if we're really, really honoring our own needs that way. So I hope this was inspiring to you and you're inspired to even just a tweak of how you see self-care, and that it can be in the small things too. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for following on your favorite platform, giving me a review. I'm Rachel. I feel you. I'm an empath after all. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.